Hello BookTube and welcome to Weekly Reads. This week saw the highest of highs go to the lowest of lows and just be okay. So the first book I read this past week and the highest of highs is The Republic of Wrath. How American Politics Turned Tribal from George Washington to Donald Trump by James A. Morone. I love this book. It is a history of, I've described it as America at each other's throats. Really, it's about American political partisanship from the very first election contested with parties, the election of 1800, and going to the present. And the thing that struck me in the core of Morone's argument is that Americans are at our most partisan when one question dominates all other discussions, and that is, who are we? And that question, who are we, is best exemplified by how we as a country treat the marginalized, primarily African Americans and immigrants. When these, that the question, who are we, is at the forefront, particularly the lead up to the Civil War, and now it's dominated by immigration, by African Americans. And Morone has some very powerful, it is a wonderful book. I loved it. I gorged myself on this book. I haven't had this glorious reading experience since The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Joe Lepore and Culture in the Third Reich by Moritz. So, highly, highly recommended. And when at the end of the book, he has some prescriptions of what to do going forward. And usually these prescriptions suck. But I think in this one, it's really interesting takes that he has for where to go from 2020. So I definitely highly, highly recommend this book. It is amazing. I'm still going to go, because I do want this one to be the tab. So, okay. So, from the highest of highs, we go to the lowest of lows. I decided, stupidly, to read The Swimming Pool Library, or rather, to attempt to reread. I should have gone with Ecstatic Nation, but I decided to reread The Swimming Pool Library because I did want to read all of Hollinghurst. And I didn't work. I tried it on Sunday after I finished Republic of Wrath. I went to read, I took a bit of a break, and then I started this up, and I didn't get too far in. The writing just didn't do it for me. And so I'm like, okay, do I want to bail? Do I want to give it another go tomorrow? So I gave it another go on Monday, and again, it wasn't working for me. The writing just sucked. Particularly like this one sentence. Where it's like, they were about to start work with an exclamation point, and I'm like, what the heck? And it completely put me off. And that got to me to thinking about my, what I thought of this book when I first read it. I mean, I have read the book. I have actually finished the book. But that was 10 or so years ago. I've had this book for going on 15 years now. So, what happened? Why was I able to finish the book ages ago and now I'm like, no. And that got me to thinking, did I even actually like the book when I read it the first time? And I don't know. I think I thought I did. But the more I think about it, the more I remember the book. I'm not entirely sure I did like it. I mean, there are some things I do like about the book. Will's sort of lack of shame, lack of angst about being gay. I love that. Not necessarily other aspects of his character. He's a bit of a monster at times, but that he lacks shame, that he is devoid of angst or angst. I love that. But there's a betrayal at the end of the book that I think just completely nukes everything Hollinghurst set out to do. And I don't know why he did it. And I remember that, and remembering I loathe that scene with the passion of the Galactic Core, Sagittarius A star. So, yeah. So that was disappointing. And so I had to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the reading week, because I didn't want to start a new book, because I tend to like to wrap up reading, like my readings on Friday, and I'd only have 4 days to do that. So what I decided to do instead was use the ebook section of my library as well as Kindle Unlimited to compile some poetry, some comics, and read some poetry and comics for the rest of the week. So that's what I did. So I read Michael Torres's The List of Incomplete Names, which is a collection of poetry primarily dealing with his childhood in Pomona, California. And I thought the collection was really good. I mean, there were a few dead poems, but there were also some really good poems, too, that I quite liked. And today I read Kwame Alexander's... Dang, I'm blanking on the name now. The Light That Wasn't Over, I think. Let me look it up real quick. I'm so sorry. I had it, but I forgot. But it's a very short collection. It's like only 3 poems. And they were all dealing with Black Lives Matter. And they were very reminiscent of Amiri Baraka's work. And I loved them. They were amazing. So let me look real quick. Light for the World to See is the collection. So, and in the comics I read, I read one manga, Fire Force by Atsushi Okubo, which I like the art, but I didn't particularly care for the story. And then I read two superhero comics and some G.I. Joe comics. So I'll start with the G.I. Joe. So I read G.I. Joe Cobra Volume 1-ish, Son of the Snake by Mike Costa. And also read G.I. Joe Cobra Civil War, again by Mike Costa, which comes before Son of the Serpent. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of G.I. Joe and comics. So for those of you who don't know, G.I. Joe is a famous toy line. It's my favorite toy line. I love G.I. Joe. I played with them religiously as a child. And part of their marketing was a comic book series from Marvel Comics written by Larry Hama. Eventually, the rights went to Devil's Due for a few years and then moved on to IDW, who launched an entirely new reality, a new canon. And so in this new continuity, Cobra is this shadowy organization that the Joes, the Special Forces unit, begin to get inklings of. And they don't quite get confirmation until one of their agents manages to kill the Cobra commander, which basically sets off Cobra in order to select a new leader. They have a competition between various candidates to kill the most G.I. Joes. And the one with the highest kill count becomes the new Cobra commander. So this part of Cobra Civil War follows several of the major candidates, the ones who are primarily represented in the toys, the Baroness, Major Blood, Tomax. Zaymod had been killed previously with the last Cobra commander, and Serpentor, who in this reality is a cult leader. And so there are various operations to try to kill Joes and their own various schemes. And I quite liked it. I mean, it is a major crossover Cobra Civil War is a major crossover with all of the G.I. Joe titles, so it's very fractured. Storylines are dropped because they're carried over in various other books. So, I mean, I do think there was an omnibus of all of Cobra Civil War combined, so which I kind of would like to read. So, after Cobra Civil War, there's a new commander who's considerably more of a supervillain than the last one. And so he invades this country, and Cobra actually wins. They achieve their military objectives, and G.I. Joe is severely constrained. But during this conflict called Cobra Command, Tomax tries to launch a coup against the commander. And when he's found out, he flees, he dissolves his business interests, and turns himself over to G.I. Joe, which sees the beginning of the next round of G.I. Joe Cobra, in which, using Tomax's intelligence, the team goes in search of the previous Cobra commander's son, who is a new version of the character Billy. And I really like this. The writing was great. I really enjoyed it. The art was a little disappointing, a lot of the characters looked alike. So, anyway. And then on to the Marvel comics. So, I read No Road Home, which is an Avengers maxi series, written by Mark Waid, Jim Zub, and Al Ewing. And it's about a ragtag group of Avengers: Hercules, the Scarlet Witch, Vision, Spectrum, Monica Rambeau, Hawkeye, the Hulk, and a new character, Voyager, battling the ancient Greek goddess of the night, Nyx, who's escaped from prison and slaughtered the Olympians and wishes to basically steal Malekith's plot from Thor the Dark World. And also gain her powers back. And there were too many cooks in this kitchen. The Avengers team just never really gelled. They never really made much sense. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Marvel Comics interpretation of Hercules. He's too much of a joke for my tastes. The Scarlet Witch really didn't have... she had a very disappointing performance. I really did like Vision's depiction and Monica Rambeau's. So, and I really did like the ending, where Nyx is defeated by Marvel Comics in the House of Ideas, and that is an amazing commentary on idea and creativity. So, I mean, while I didn't necessarily like most of the storyline, I did really like that. And also the fact that for a few issues, the Scarlet Witch is trapped in an age undreamt of, between the time when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Arius. And thus, I kind of sort of ship Wanda Maximoff with Conan the Cimmerian. And the second Marvel comic book I read was Strike Force Volume 1 by Tini Howard. This, again, it's a rather ragtag team of superheroes are framed by this shape-shifting elfin species, and they have to go defeat these elves. Although the storyline kind of takes a break for another arc in between. And I surprisingly liked it. So this one features my favorite superhero, Wiccan, alongside Angela, Monica Rambeau again, the Winter Soldier, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and Blade, with Damon Hellstrom coming in also. And I mean, I quite liked it. I mean, again, it's ragtag. The team really doesn't gel. I think more could be done with the characters' personalities and like more of the character drama and character development. I think could have been done. But on the whole, I actually surprisingly liked Strike Force Volume 1. So yeah. So that was my reading week. I did watch the first 3 episodes of WandaVision, the first 2 last week, and the third one today. And while I think the first 2 episodes were a bit rough, and I didn't quite like them, the third episode more than makes up for the first 2 episodes' deficiencies. The episode this week was a blast. I loved it. It was amazing. And I've also been watching The Toys That Made Us again. I finished off the first season, and I'm working my way through the second one. I'm hoping to finish the second season either today or tomorrow. And I quite enjoyed it. It's a, I mean, I don't know. It's not as good as I like the first time I watched it. There's a bit of a something that's bugging me, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. But it has gotten me interested in looking into seeing if there are any histories of toys, and particularly like the very popular toy franchises. And some of these histories are actually quite interesting. But anyway, so what I'm planning on reading for this coming week, and I'm thinking this will be the only thing I read this week, although if I do finish before, I will pick something else up. And that will be Ecstatic Nation by Brenda Wineapple, which I should have read this past week, but I decided not to. Largely because this book is about a period of time that James Morone goes through in some detail in Republic of Wrath. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting to this at long last. So anyway, BookTube, that was my reading week. Next week, on Monday, I will have an original tag up. I'm going to give it another editorial pass. I'm liking the questions I've come up with, but I want to make sure that the prompts do not kind of like that. The genres are limited. That I want you to be that. I mean, the answers could be general fiction or genre fiction or nonfiction. So I'm going to go through them and see if I can, if any of them are kind of like limiting the prompt options or answer options. And so that'll be on Monday. Then on Tuesday, I will do some tags. Maybe Wednesday, some tags too. And Thursday. And then Friday, book haul and weekly reads. Because I've got 2 more books coming in, and then I will have a book haul ready. But I like to do those on the last Friday of the month. So anyway. So until Monday, thank you, BookTube. Have a great weekend, and please stay safe.